Hi, welcome back. I'm Janine from JanineWorth.com, and today we are going to be talking about client attracting websites. So my guest today is known as the website mentor, and her name is Vicky Etherington. And she's been supporting entrepreneurs in their online marketing and websites since 2003 and works with coaches and therapists to teach them how to grow their businesses online and create their own client attracting websites. Welcome, Vicky. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you for the introduction. It's really nice to be here.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty of creating these wonderful client attracting websites, please tell us, how did you actually get involved in web design?
Oh, well, it really wasn't a straight line, and it's kind of a very unexpected journey. So my background was marketing, and I was always very enthusiastic and passionate about marketing. And I took some time out from my marketing career and I was based in Zambia, in a very rural area up near the Congolese border. And from there, I became marketing director of a conservation organization based in California. And this was back in 2002. And keep in mind that websites at that point were really something of a novelty. And we had a website, and we had a web design agency that managed the site for us. But the problem was that they charged quite a lot of money, and there's no shame in that. They had a great skill, but what it meant was that it was very apparent every time we were paying for updates to our website, we were literally taking money from our projects. So that was as apparent as a child not getting a place in a school, or an anti-poaching patrol not being able to run that month. And so the implications and the impact of us paying a lot of money for our website was really, really, well, it was actually very frustrating. And so we kind of took a look at it and we said, okay, let's see if we can do it in-house. But there was no one that really wanted to run with it. And so this was before the days of YouTube and Google, right? No one really wanted to jump into all the tech side. So I decided to buy a whole load of books and see if I could teach myself. And I was not even comfortable with email at this point in my career. I was very untech orientated. And this was it was very much out of my comfort zone. And of course, we didn't have the blessing of our web design agency, but I kind of launched straight into it and was convinced that if I made any changes to our website, that the whole world would come crashing down, that the website would break and I wouldn't have anyone that was going to be able to fix it for us. And so it was a very nerve-wracking moment when I decided to take that first step and publish the first change on our website. And I had been studying for months to learn code, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that kind of stuff that nobody wants to know about. And when I made that first change and published it, the sky didn't fall in, and it was honestly the most liberating and empowering moment. We were so excited, me and my CEO, we were doing a happy dance around the office, and we realized at that moment that we had just turned a corner. It was really pivotal, because from that moment on, we were then able to take control of all of our online marketing. It wasn't just our website. We knew that our website was going to be really, really critical in reaching a wider audience. But it had a massive impact on all of our email marketing, all of the tech stuff that we were trying to do online. Suddenly, everything started to fall into place. And from there, our PR agency asked if I could do for them what I'd done for the Conservancy websites. And I was like, you're joking, right? I have no idea what I'm meant to be doing with this, but I'll try and help if I can. And then one of our board of directors was a wildlife artist. She asked me to help with hers. And so it kind of snowballed, and I realized there was a real hunger and desire for people to actually not be reliant on other people to manage their websites for them. And the following year, in 2003, I came back to the UK to get married, and that's when I set up my first online marketing agency to help entrepreneurs get a really profit-focused website up and running that was more simplistic than most of the things that were out there, because there were lots of bells and whistles and flash websites. I don't know if you remember, where there were all these tickers going across. And I was very focused on really delivering something that had a strong marketing orientation, was less technically minded, less gizmos and gadgets on them, and websites that were really going to deliver results and that people could manage themselves. And that became one of my key selling propositions, really, was empowering entrepreneurs into how they could manage their own websites. And at that point, it was all code. So I was actually teaching people the basics of code when I was handing over their website, so they could just do text tweaks and that kind of thing. But it was fabulous. It was just very different from what other people were doing in the marketplace at the time. And I realized that I really loved doing that. And then further down the line, when the technology became available and far more intuitive, I transitioned into teaching people actually how to build their own websites from scratch.
Wow. Well, I remember when I transitioned from my corporate career to being self-employed and going online. And the idea of creating a website was just like, oh my goodness. Because when you come from the corporate side, you have other people that do that you don't have to worry about stuff like that. And this was something that I myself had some sleepless nights about. So tell me, what, in your opinion, is the best website platform to use?
So there's not really a right or wrong answer with this. And it depends a lot on where people are in their process and what they want from their website. What I would say is you never want to use a bespoke platform. And I can't imagine that anyone that's starting out in business is going to actually pay for someone to build them a bespoke platform anyway, but I'm putting it out there. Don't ever go with anything bespoke. And when I say a bespoke platform, I mean someone that's building a content management system just for you, because the platforms now are amazing for us to be able to do that literally off the shelf. And so there's lots of platforms that some of your people may have heard about, such as Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, WordPress. All of these are really valid platforms to a certain extent. Now, the people that often come to work with me are people who have started off with a website on the likes of Wix, and it's been really fast and easy for them to set something up, and then they've bumped up against restrictions. So they've managed to get literally like a homepage up, something about them and a little bit about their offerings. But then if they're wanting to move more into online marketing, such as email marketing, and they're wanting to do content upgrades, they're wanting to blog, then they find that that platform that they've chosen, which was quite quick and easy to get up and running, is no longer serving them as they're needing it to. And there's also a few issues with search engine visibility with some of the platforms, because the drag and drop builders often put together lots of nasty code in the background, which is what makes them so easy to build, but it makes it really difficult for search engines to read your content. And search engines are all about relevancy. So when we go to Google, we trust Google to serve up results that are going to be really relevant to what we're searching for. And that's how Google makes money, because then they can serve up ads as well. And so if they can't read your website, if they're having to trawl through lots and lots of redundant code in the background, then your website's never going to actually rank very well in the search engines. So you want to use a platform that's very search engine friendly. So the only platform that I work with is WordPress. There are two versions of WordPress, which confuses everybody. I have no idea why they did that. But there's what we call the kind of off-the-shelf version of WordPress, which is WordPress.com. And that enables you to just literally set up an account and start working on your website. And that's fine to an extent. But again, this is one that you're going to bump up against restrictions. You can't add plugins, or you can't add very many plugins. And it's great for a hobbyist. You know, if Granny wants to show her pom-poms or something like that, it's perfect. But if you're wanting a business website, you really need to be on the self-hosted version of WordPress, which is a little bit more of a learning curve. There's a little bit more tech involved in setting it up, because you need a hosting plan. But actually, once you hop over that, you only need to do it once. And once you're up and running, literally you can do anything. The sky is the limit with a WordPress website. And there's small entrepreneurs like you and me who are using WordPress, and there's massive corporations, BBC, Vogue, Nike, they also have presences on WordPress. So you can scale it all the way from, you know, a small website all the way to a massive multi-million-pound corporation website. So WordPress is the only platform that I use. It's the only platform that I really truly recommend. And I do recognize that it's not going to be ideal for everybody where they are at a certain point in their journey. But what I would say is that I would really caution people on going for an easy option and then finding 6 months later that they need to swap platforms, because I see that happen a lot as well. And what that means is that you're having to learn two different skills. And that whole migrating across to another platform is it's a real pain. You don't want to have to be doing that if you can avoid it. So I would choose the best platform for you. And even if it's a little bit of a learning curve at the outset and it's going to take you a bit longer to get up and running, I would go with that and run with it and learn it. And WordPress would be my recommendation. It would be my hands down recommendation really for anybody to use.
Well, that's exactly the answer that you gave me when I first started out, and you got that desperate call from me saying, I've heard all these things about people having to change their websites after a couple of months. What's going on? So I'm really happy that you gave me that recommendation, because as you say, it did take a little, not even that much longer, a little while longer, but I know that I don't have to change, do all that extra work later on. Because especially when you're starting out and, getting busy in your business, you want to focus on your zone of genius and not spend hours of your life watching YouTube tutorials thinking, what did I get myself into here?
Yeah. And that's it. Actually, so that's a really valid point that you bring up about the YouTube tutorials. There's a lot of information out there which you can literally lose yourself down this rabbit warren of information, and it becomes very overwhelming for new entrepreneurs. And so what I would recommend, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a website mentor, I'm saying it, you could choose anybody you like, but find someone who has done what you are wanting to do and take guidance from them. Because you could spend months in paralysis of choosing what you should be doing and how you should best be doing it. And if you can find someone who's done what you're wanting to do, who can take you by the hand and guide you, it's going to accelerate your process like beyond anything that you can imagine. So it's definitely worth your while and worth the investment. If they're going to charge you for it, it's definitely worth you finding someone who can guide you through that process to a certain extent.
Okay, so when do you think it's necessary to have a website? Do you recommend that people do it all at the beginning before they launch their business, or a bit later on? Give us your thoughts on that.
I love this question. So thank you for asking it. So the really exciting part of starting up a business is you have this amazing idea, and then you really, really want to get visual with it. So you want to get a logo and you want to get a website because you want to kind of give birth to this amazing thing that you're creating. And I totally understand that enthusiasm, and I love it, and you should absolutely embrace the energy that comes with that. But I would caution anybody on just jumping straight into their logo and their website, because what you really want to focus on first is getting clients. And I know it's a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario, but your clients are more likely to come from your networking or from your own personal recommendations than they are from a website, which might sound a little bit weird coming from a website developer, but it's honestly the truth. And building a website in the first 6 months of your business is going to be a distraction, where you really need to be hitting the ground running with getting some income. But the other thing that it's going to serve you really well with doing is when you first start working with those initial clients, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to learn a lot about your offerings, and you're going to learn a lot about your ideal clients. And you'll find in those initial months when you start working that there are people that you love working with, and you'll find that there are people who are not a good fit for you at all, and that you would rather say, no, do you know what? I think there's someone else that would be a better person for you to work with. And all of that experience within those first few months of working with those initial clients feeds into your messaging and everything that's going to go onto your website. And so what often happens when people kind of do it the other way around and they jump straight in with a website and a logo is that 6 months down the line, they end up changing it all. So they've really put a lot of energy into creating their initial offerings and their initial messaging and building their website. only to find that it's not a true representation of themselves and what they do only 6 months later. So in a summary, that was a long way around of saying, I personally would give yourself 6 months of working with clients before you actually start with a website. And I do have a slight caveat to that, because with that comes a little bit of that kind of Mickey Mouse mentality of, oh, it's just a little sideline that I'm running and I'm just doing it as a bit of a hobby, and eventually it'll become a business, but right now I'm just taking on a couple of contracts here and there and seeing how it goes. Whereas when you have a website or when you have something online that you can refer to, it up levels your mindset and it makes you recognize, okay, I'm out there, I'm visible, and I am doing this. And so I do think that there is a case for you having a domain name that you register right at the outset, and that you put up one page, a holding page, that you don't have a logo on it. You can choose a color scheme that you really love, and you can literally put some text on there and what you're offering right now. And this is something that I do for my clients who are working with me on the WordPress Success Bootcamp, which is my signature program where I teach people how to build websites. Is they might be joining a bootcamp 6 months down the line from now, because that's normally what I recommend that they do, is that they don't jump straight into one now if they're just starting out. But what I do for people who are joining the bootcamp is I put together a professional holding page for them. So they have a presence online, they have a domain name, they have an email address that they can use, that they can have their business cards printed, and all of a sudden they become the CEO of their own business, rather than just starting off tinkering with a little hobby on the side. And it really, that was not an expected side effect when I first started offering that about 3 years ago, but the shift that I saw happening in my clients who were doing that was exponential, and it really had a big impact on the speed of their progress, because they started taking their own business seriously much faster.
Yeah, I really resonated with your answer of waiting, because when I first started out, I was working with women in general who had experienced trauma. And now, further down the line, I'm working more with female entrepreneurs, and first doing the therapy and then going into business coaching. So I followed your advice with that, and I'm so happy that I did, because in the long run, it ended up saving me so much time with not having to redo and, all of that. It was a really good tip. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Well, I'm pleased it worked for you, because that's the thing. A lot of people underestimate how long a website is going to take to create, even if they have someone else building it for them. So if you ask a web designer to build your website, you still have to create the content for it, unless you're going to go the whole hog and get a copywriter and all the rest of it. And but most people don't have the budget for that when they're starting out. So they're going to be creating their own copy themselves, their own text, the words for your website. And that can take a lot of time. And especially if you haven't been working with people yet, it's a difficult process. You're kind of pulling this out of your head before you've really had the experience of working with people and knowing what it is that's going to work for them in terms of psychologically, what do they need to read, and how is it that you're best going to connect with them, and what are their biggest challenges and pain points that they're facing right now that you can help them with. Because once you've been working with people, all of that stuff just flows out of you, because you know exactly what it is that you can best help them with and who are the best people for you to work with, because you've already done it. So don't underestimate how long that process is going to take. And so you don't want to be doing it all over again 6 months later when you slightly pivot, or where you shift your focus or your audience.
Perfect. So once people have built these websites, or they come to you and they want to change things up, what is the biggest mistake that you see them when they're making in the design of their websites when you do these website audits?
Yeah, so, well, there's a number of mistakes that that people make. The first thing is talking about themselves. So it's really easy to say, I've been accredited for 5 years, and I studied in such and such, and I have these amazing qualifications, and I'm really good at this particular thing. Whereas actually people don't care about that. I mean, they genuinely do not care. So when you think of how we as consumers are navigating the internet, we're looking for stuff that's going to serve us. And whether that's wanting to buy a book, or whether that's looking for a Reiki therapist, or whether it's looking for someone who can help them build their website, they don't care how long you've been in business, or how many accreditations you've got, or how many awards you've won. They actually want to know, can you help me right now get out of this hole that I've just found myself in? And how quickly can you make it happen? So the first thing that I would really recommend is that you write very benefits orientated content. So you're really speaking to your audience and showing them exactly how you can help them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is not having a clear guidance of what you want people to do on your website. In fact, not having a clear idea of what your purpose of your website is yourself. So you need to know why you're building a website, because lots of people are building one because they think they need one, but they don't know why they need one. They just know that they do because everyone else has got one. So that's it's a big pitfall. You need to know why it is that you want to build your website. Is it because you want to grow your leads or grow your email list? Are you wanting to build credibility? Are you wanting to bring people into your retreat? Are you, what is it that you're wanting to do? And once you are very clear on what the actual purpose of your website is, it makes it much easier for you to signpost people to that end outcome. So your website automatically becomes more successful, because it's not just this online brochure which people are just going to flick through aimlessly and never actually take any action because you haven't asked them to. So being very clear on the purpose of your website is a really, really great place to start. And that's different for everybody. Everyone has a different idea of why they need a website. But make sure that you're clear on it before you get started. So those are two of the main things that I see people really, really stumbling with from the outset. And when people come to me and they say, I've been in business for 3 years and I've had a website the whole time and it hasn't brought me a single client, those two things are probably the key elements which were missing when the website was built. And if you are deciding to work with someone who's going to build a website for you, then if you work with a graphic designer, it's often the case, and I love graphic designs, I work with lots of them, but if they're building a website for you, it may be that they don't dig into these questions with you about who you're working with and what you can help them with and why are you building a website, because actually they just want to build you something that's beautiful, that you're going to be proud of, that you're going to love sending traffic to, but that might not work particularly hard for you from a marketing perspective. And your website, whether you build it yourself or have someone else build it for you, absolutely 100% must give you a return on your investment. Because whether you're investing money or whether you're investing time or whether you're investing both, they are critical resources in your business, and you need to make sure that they're paying you back. So you want to make sure that your website is working hard for you. So make sure that if you do decide to work with somebody, that you're going to find someone who is going to really help you with that side of the benefits orientated content and what we call the user journey as to, your purpose of your website and how people are going to navigate their way through it.
Perfect. I think this is the perfect time to tell the viewers about the free gift that you've kindly offered to give them.
Yes, so for people who are watching, they're going to get access through Janine, because she twisted my arm, and you'll get access to a workshop that I ran, which is the key components that you need to have on your homepage for success. So there are lots of things that you could include on your website, and there's lots of pages that you can include them on, but your homepage is most likely going to be the entry point for the majority of your visitors to your website. So you want to make sure that it has impact and that it makes sure that people actually explore your website further. And so the workshop that Janine's going to give you access to is going to make sure that you have those critical components available on your website right from the outset on the homepage. Now, there's a possibility if you're blogging that people will come in through a blog post as well. So they might not automatically land on your homepage, might not be the first place that they start. But if you're anything like me, when I read a blog post, if I love it, the first thing I do is then go and visit the homepage, because I want to find out what services they're offering and what other stuff they do. So your homepage is really very critical to the success of your entire website and your entire online strategy. So that workshop should get you on track with the things that you should be including on your homepage to make it successful.
Perfect. I love it. And then it gets even better. For the paid members, you have an additional bonus. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, that's the one I just told you about.
Oh.
Sorry. So the other one, so the one that's free for everybody, is a workshop where it's a 5-day video series. And this is going to get you started with your website. So it's going to help you register a domain name. And I've been talking about domain names, and some of you might not even know what one is, but your domain name is your web address. So myamazingwebsite.com is a domain name. So it's going to get you started with a domain name. It's going to get you started with a hosting plan, which scares the heebie-jeebies out of some people. They're like, why do I need one? So it explains why you need a hosting plan and what you can do with it, and how you get hold of a professional email address that's associated with your domain name. So it means you can banish your Gmail and your Hotmail for good. And it's going to get you started with WordPress as well. It's even going to help you build your very first web page on WordPress. So that's a really amazing video series, which lots and lots of coaches have worked their way through, and with great success. And it's really my best training. So that's available to everybody. And then once you've got through that, then the bonus for the paid members is the success elements of your homepage.
Wonderful.
Sorry that I got that muddled up.
No, it's absolutely fine. Right. So in your business, because you've been an entrepreneur in the online space for quite a while, what is one action that has brought about the most significant success in your business?
Imperfect action.
Oh, I love that.
So a lot of us, I mean, I've talked about paralysis, I've mentioned it before, but a lot of us get totally stuck with this idea of perfection. And the thing that I love about websites, and the thing I love about the online space generally, is that actually you can move forward with imperfection, knowing that tomorrow you can change it. So it's not like printing a brochure where you hit the go button on it and they print off 1,000 brochures, and then you spot the typo and you're like, oh no, that's like £1,000 that I've just put down the drain. With your website, you can change it tomorrow if you decide to, or it can become very dynamic. So if you decide that you want to promote something different tomorrow than you put out there yesterday, well, you can do that. But that idea of imperfect action was really pivotal for me. It was my very first business mentor that said to me, version 1 is better than version none. Just hit send. And it was, sometimes it can feel really, really terrifying to hit send or press the publish button, because you're putting yourself out there into a space that feels a little bit uncomfortable. You're opening yourself up to ridicule, or or you're going to have to justify yourself in some way. And so it can seem terrifying, but actually you just have to do it and roll with it and see what happens. And generally it's like when I published my first thing on the Conservancy website, the sky didn't fall in. And usually when you hit post or publish or send or whatever it might be, your sky won't fall in either. So just go for it.
I love it. I'm a big advocate of taking action.
Yeah.
So what is one must-read book, in your opinion, that every female entrepreneur should read?
There are so many, and I'm a real consumer of books and podcasts, and I love audiobooks. But the one that I find isn't quite spoken about as much is called The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. And one of the reasons why I love it is because it is a business book, but it's written like a story, and we all love stories. But it's about how you can exponentially increase your success through giving. And I think as female entrepreneurs, we're all kind of wired to give anyway. But this really validates that idea of giving selflessly and almost the idea of karma, that what goes around comes around. And I've definitely found that in my business, is that I love giving out training. And I find it incredibly rewarding to see people taking action on it. But that serves me from a business perspective as well, because lots of those people who go through my free training become my clients. And some of my clients have worked with me. Well, I've had clients working with me for over a decade now. And I love how that feeds back into growing our business. And I think that as female entrepreneurs, it sits very well with us to become the go-givers. And so, yeah, I would encourage anybody to read that book or listen to it. It's got an audio version as well.
And that brings me perfectly to the next question, which is, you have a free Facebook group called the WordPress Happy Community. Yeah. Tell us a bit about the topics that you discuss in there.
So it's mainly about websites and about visibility and entrepreneurship and coaching. So most of the people who are in that group are coaches and entrepreneurs. 90% of the group is female. And I do a lot of training in there. So last week, no, it wasn't last week, it's the week before last, I ran a 5-day blogging challenge to try and really get people to take action and implement some of the things they were learning on their blogs, so that they're not just creating content for the sake of it. And a lot of the initiatives behind what we do in the group is about taking action, because I think as new entrepreneurs, well, as entrepreneurs generally, we become very good at consuming information. You know, we sign up to all these webinars and we buy little mini courses here and there, and but we listen to them, but we don't always implement what we're learning. And if you're not implementing, you're not growing. So you need to be constantly taking action. Even just tiny steps every day is going to exponentially grow you. And so that's what I really try to encourage in the group, is people trying to take action, and really to encourage everybody else to take action. So we post our blog posts so that other people can go in and comment on them. And so it's a great community. I love hanging out there. I love the people that are in there. And so, yeah, if anybody fancies coming and joining the WordPress Happy community, we have an amazing group of entrepreneurs who are really very giving people and have a massive wealth of experience in their own right as well.
That's true, because I'm also in that group, and people are always posting tips about new plugins or ways to, you know, get your SEO optimized and all these things that maybe people aren't thinking about on a day-to-day basis. And then you're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me go do that. Yeah. So I find it really helpful. And I'm going to put a link underneath this interview. So anybody that's interested can go and have a look. It's a great group. Thank you so much. This has been so great. Before we go, if people that are watching this want to reach out and they want to work with you, what is the best way to do that?
So they could book a call with me on the website mentor.com. It's very easy for you to book a call there, or come and hang out in the WordPress Happy community and get a feel for what's going on in there, and then private message me if you want to. That's where I spend most of my time online, is in the WordPress Happy community, and or reach out to me from my website.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been awesome as always. I really love that you give straightforward advice. That's one of the qualities that I really love about you, is that you always give an honest answer.
Thank you, Janine. I appreciate that. Well, it's been great to speak to you. And I hope that all the ladies who are running through this are going to really accelerate their business growth, because I'm sure that they will, with all the amazing speakers that you've got.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow for the next episode. Bye.